A very good day to you all. This conversation is for those of you who volunteer your time to the young people of your local Urban Saints group. We've created and are creating some short clips that we hope will help to give you space to reflect on what we've been through in the last 6 months and where we are now. We hope to invite you into these conversations that we're having to consider the impact that these times have had on you personally, and what will the needs of the young people be as we return back to our groups. We're really aware as well that there's no expectation or pressure to return to running groups face to face. These clips are seeking to equip us and support us in the journey of that return when it would happen, and at your discretion, following the lines of the national guidelines and also our nation's. So you are joined with me, Pam Kershaw, based in the Northeast, with 3 of my favourite colleagues. So we have Anna, Becca and Andy, who all represent different areas of England, Scotland and Wales. So, wondering, how are you doing? It's been a significant time. Unlike anything, we've never lived through something like this. So we're just going to have a bit of a conversation, and these could be questions that you could be having with your team too. Just narrate and populate wherever you're seeing this as a platform. Put in your comments to these questions too, because we'd love to be able to do this community together as well. So guys, how have your lives changed in the midst of this last 6 months?
Shall I start? I'm guessing beyond all recognition, really. There have been some incredibly difficult things, some quite challenging things, and some really great things that have come out of it as well. I guess probably the most radical change for me was in terms of well, 2 things really. Firstly, in my working life, everything went from kind of medium to long-term deadlines to a whole host of right now, several times a week, all the time deadlines, with lots of meetings and no travel time to recover from them afterwards before you get to the next one, and a lot of stress of that. And then as a group leader, just the not seeing and getting to play with children and young people, every week is a massive kind of, it probably took me a good 3 months just to get over the kind of sense of loss of that.
Yeah, how did you find it, Anna?
Yeah, it's been a lot of ups and downs. I think it's been hard because change was almost opposed immediately. I guess I like my freedom and independence, and so all of a sudden all that was taken, plus a lot of change was introduced involuntarily. So it's not just that work has completely changed, but how your social life works has completely changed. So all of a sudden I can't catch up with 10 people before church or before youth group or do this. You're on a Zoom call and it's one person talking, and if you want to catch up, you have to do that intentionally, catching up with each of those people. So really looking after others has become a lot harder in some ways, even though we're more connected in others. But then also what Andy was saying, just being back in the park with volunteers, meeting socially distanced is incredible, because you're like, this feels a bit more like normality. And I guess we're all in these roles of volunteering with kids and young people because we believe in relational ministry. And so it's hard when your whole life is built around hospitality, built around relational ministry, and that is gone online. And so I've just struggled with like sitting in front of the laptop all day and for work and then for social life. And so I felt like I had to say no's a lot. Whatever plans I made, even going home to Germany, flights got cancelled, you had to rearrange, that might not work out. So, and I like plans and planning, so that has changed. So it's just, this up and down of I'm okay, I'm not okay, I'm okay, I'm not okay. I don't even know what's triggered it now, and so that has been interesting. But the from the Now What conference, Cade Middleton's The Baseline, was really helpful, saying that all our baselines of stress levels have been raised, so small things tip us over. And I found that to be true in my life. I'm like, why can't I handle this normal thing? Why is that tipping me over? But in the midst of that, have experienced great community of people looking after me and just checking in and making sure I'm okay, and experiencing that grace has been incredible.
How's life changed for you, Becca, in Scotland?
I think the main thing for me is just the amount of screen-based things. I'm used to being out meeting people every day, and although I'm home-based in my normal job, that it's very rare for me to have a whole day without any form of contact with people face-to-face. And so I found that very hard. And like Anna said, just socialising on screen, seeing family on screen, it's just all been quite difficult. But I think from conversations I've had with some youth workers and some young people, actually being visible on a screen has been quite hard for a lot of people. And so even in a group meeting like this, some people do find it quite hard actually being visible. So I think all these strange things that you never even think of in normal life have just suddenly come to the front. And I think also just the amount of content that churches, youth work organisations, youth workers have been creating has been this explosion of creativity, and it's been great. But I kind of also feel that at this stage, people are getting a bit tired of that. There was such a huge amount of energy and unity and excitement, and although everyone knew it was a difficult situation, there was a lot of positivity at the beginning of lockdown, and I kind of feel like there's this weariness that people have come back into. And so I think for groups, my group especially, towards the end of the of term time, we started dipping in numbers because people had just felt they had enough of screens. But what was really great was last week we, my other group leader and I, visited all the young people. We brought them a goodie bag with just kind of fun stuff in it, and we saw them all in their houses at their doorsteps, and actually even just seeing face to face, socially distanced, was really incredible. So yeah, that was a big turning point for us, I think, as a group. How about you, Pam?
Yeah, I think that there's been a real high in being able to go, right, okay, let's do something fresh, let's keep trying to keep things online, things that you do normally together. We've kept up with some initial training for some new groups, because being quite new to Post, we were really just at the cusp of getting ready to engage with young people. I think as well, I've really valued just learning a lot in this season. I've kind of done a few more courses online and kind of, got a few things in the bank of me to be able to keep helping. But there's definitely been a need of, I need to switch off now, take away the devices, take away all that things. And I do recognise as well that there's been a large amount of people that have been furloughed, and so even that lack of potential purpose that people have felt, I think that might have hit many of us as group leaders across the nations. There's been also those of us that have worked in frontline services. I know within prisons, I know within the NHS, Royal Mail, all the normal services just that underpin our whole society. And, there's a number of us that volunteer or work in those settings. So it might not have actually felt like a rest. And there's just this really odd balance or non-balance of how people have actually experienced COVID and how they've actually experienced lockdown. And I think that is another telling sign of how disproportionate we are in our strength, in our energy, in our resilience. So yeah, it's been a really bizarre time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really bizarre time. Have there been any joys? Any little stories that have happened? Any little things that were able to take place as a result of this fresh opportunity?
Yeah, I have. There've been some really good things that God has been doing in this season that have been surprising. Really, Becca mentioned the creativity thing, and I'm a very creative kind of personality. I'm a musician. I love video type stuff, and just having the opportunity to do some of that stuff as a part of kind of normal everyday things, and have that almost that time put aside without having to try and carve it out from the normal, has been good. Just a couple of things related to work, which has been really good. You know, I sat down on the first day of lockdown, thinking about my group. We have two groups, age groups under 11, and then we have an older youth group here in the village where I live, and we were thinking, so what do we do now? Obviously, the older ones, it's easy to do on Zoom, or at least to begin on Zoom. What do we do with the younger ones? And we sat down and began to produce some resources that we could send or deliver to them. Worked with some other youth and children's workers to do that. And our thought was, you know, we were producing this resource in Welsh, because that's how our groups meet. And our thought was, well, this is for a handful of workers and their groups in Wales. And then we realised that although we were producing it in Welsh, because it was going into homes, it would have to have an English translation for some of the parents to be able to understand it. Because although the kids are in Welsh medium school, they come from homes where the parents don't both speak Welsh or neither of them speak Welsh. And so we generated that in English, and the moment it became heard of, the thing just exploded, and it's been distributed and used by churches and workers and in over 10 countries, week on week since the start of lockdown, and that's been just extraordinary. We never would have dreamt that. That was just a God thing, but a real joy to think that something that started life just in a small way for us as a way of meeting local needs just could have such a profound effect. So that's been a real joy.
I think that's one of the things about the internet. As Anna said, it's kind of, there are barriers there, absolutely, but actually it also brings unity in different ways. And I've really enjoyed having a weekly meeting with other youth, children's families, organisational workers across Scotland every week. And we're hearing what's been working for some people, what hasn't been working for other people. We've been able to have 20 people in a conversation from all over the nation, talking about challenges they've felt, or things that they've been able to have a huge celebration over, and from all these different organisations and churches, all denominations represented, but it's just brought a huge amount of unity to our work, and where people have said, oh, this is being written by this organisation and this organisation's doing this, and have you heard about this? It's been really, really great for just sharing resources and ideas.
And I think for me personally, it's that drawing together people, dropping off small gifts or sending a card when they know you aren't doing great. I feel like there's a lot more gifts, words of affirmation happening intentionally, trying to look after people, because we know it's been a change for everyone. Life has changed for everyone. And so I'm just surprised at how people are looking after each other, though I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But, it's just good to know that we are family, even like my family isn't here, but other people are taking that place in this season, which has been amazing, so I'm just so grateful for that.
Yeah. And really, the basis of us chatting now is to give you the opportunity to answer the question, how are you doing? We've mentioned just there in love languages. I wonder if you've ever taken that online free test of, what are your love languages? How do you refill your sense of worth, your sense of feeling okay? We had some great training and conference stuff happening by Youthscape, which Anna mentioned, the Now What, which you might have seen some of it. It's all available on the Youthscape YouTube. There's tons of time there for you to be able to have a look at any of those things. We really recommend it. But they also provided something on their website called the Now What reflective peace, and there was 3 parts to it, and the first part of it was about lamenting. And I suppose this is what we're trying to model in this moment with you and sharing it as we have. Maybe you could do this with a few others, maybe that you run the local group with, or just people in your household, and really maybe have a conversation to be able to really thoroughly consider, how has this period made me feel? What has been the hard stuff? And what have I lost in that? And then maybe what have been some of the joys and some of the secret, almost stolen moments of good stuff out of such maybe a negative situation. That piece that Youthscape have done, it helps you journey through that even further. So we do really recommend that. And this is going to be just the first clip that you see of what we are helping you with in the hope of returning back into something of what we once knew. We're going to leave you with some passages from Psalm 55, and let this be a time where you just engage with God, some of that lament with him.
Psalm 55, 1-19. Listen, God, to my prayer. Don't reject my request. Please listen and help me. My thoughts are troubled and I keep groaning, because my loud enemies shout and attack. They treat me terribly and hold angry grudges. My heart is racing fast, and I am afraid of dying. I am trembling with fear, completely terrified. I wish I had wings like a dove so I could fly far away and be at peace. I would go and live in some distant desert. I would quickly find shelter from howling winds and raging storms. I ask for your help, Lord God, and you will keep me safe. Morning, noon, and night, you hear my concerns and my complaints. I am attacked from all sides, but you will rescue me, unharmed by the battle. You have always ruled, and you will hear me. David felt overwhelmed and hemmed in, and it's there he cried out to God. Well, he finishes the psalm by declaring the truths he knows about God, even though he doesn't feel them in that moment. He declares those truths.